evening, voters. After almost 5 hours of debate, the Lok Sabha has passed the 124th Constitutional Amendment Bill, or in simpler words, the Quota Bill, as it is being referred to. Now, as the name suggests, this enables a 10% quota for the economically backward in the general category via constitutional amendments. This quota, voters, will be available in all higher educational institutions, government-aided or private, and government jobs. Now, it may be a great political move, well timed to the elections. But what does it really do on the ground? Here is what we are dealing with. Let's take some basic statistics. As per CMI data of January 2018, the unemployment in December was at a 27th month high. The unemployment rate was 7.3%. CMI also came out with some data last month where they said 1.7 lakh central government jobs had been added under Modi government. That's about it. In this 4-year period, about 1.78 lakh central government jobs. The All India Manufacturers Association, Traders Association says that there was a 43% job loss in the traders segment, a 32% job loss in the micro biz segment, and a 30% job loss in the smaller business segment. That things have been really tough since GST and demonetization, and we've seen a significant drop in the number of jobs that are being created. Not just that. Here is some more anecdotal evidence to back these statistics. Recently, a railways jobs application was put out. Vacancies were 90,000, but there were 2.8 crore applicants, about over 300 applicants for one vacancy. When there was a police constable recruitment exercise going on in Mumbai, there were about 2 lakh applicants, so simply 1,100 jobs, many of them overqualified for what they were appearing for. For a government PN job in Uttar Pradesh, there were 62 vacancies and 93,000 applications. That's 1,500 applications for each PN post. For in Tamil Nadu, an exercise that was carried out for clerical staff hiring in government jobs, there were about 20 lakh applicants for 9,500 jobs. I guess the fact that I'm trying to really highlight here is that there are much more job seekers and not enough jobs in private and in public. So then the fact of the matter is, if there aren't enough jobs being created, how on earth is reservation really going to help us? Now, many opposition parties did raise this issue in Lok Sabha, but since all of them ended up backing the bill either which ways, there was barely any conversation about it. Even though the finance minister promised us that if there are economic questions or conversations, he will give an answer on job, but we never really reached that point. So tonight, once again, let us ask, how does this quota really help? Apart from simply being a feel-good factor, simply the government telling the voters that we care for you too, not just for the Dalits, not just for the SC/ST. Let's say good evening to our panelists. Vineet Goenka, member of the Governing Council, Chris, and former national co-convener of the BJP IT cell. Pawan Khera, spokesperson for the Congress Party. Ashok Bharti, chairman of the All India Ambedkar Mahasabha. Mr. A. Sarvanan, spokesperson for the DMK. And Professor Anand Kumar, who is a sociologist. I'm going to go across to Mr. Goenka, who I'm sure has heard what my intro said. Mr. Goenka, can you give us firstly some research or statistics that you may have to justify this move that you've made? Roughly how many people will benefit from this new quota? How many people would need the help of the government, so to say?
You know, I was thinking that this particular debate is on the current amendment which has been proposed today and been passed in the Lok Sabha. This is in height of negativity. When the amendment is passed, you are talking about what are the opportunities available. Let me tell you on one single line and crash your discussion here, is that whatever is available will be divided between 50 plus 10%. So those people who are economically backward, who were deprived of the opportunities, who were deprived of the social benefits, the economical benefits of their democracy, now will get it. All these 70 years, nobody thought about them, and then probably this is a very, very good decision been taken by a decisive leadership like Narendra Modi ji, where those who were have-nots will get an opportunity to participate in the haves. So please do not demean the entire discussion by calling there are no jobs. Let me give you some statistics. Last year in 2017, 82 lakh people were registered more in PF. Do you want to say that 82 lakh people registered in PF just because we wanted them to register and they were not employed? They were employed in organized sector. Else otherwise, how would you get 82 lakh new registration? Let me also remind you, 5.42 income taxpayers been registered, 17% more than what it was in 2013. Do you want to say people paid tax just because we want to pay them and there was no opportunities for them? Let me also tell you, 98.7 lakh people registered under GST. Do you want to say people registered in GST just because we wanted them to register it and there was no opportunities for them? Do you want to say that the roads were built by somebody coming from Italy doing it here, building the roads? Do you want to say that the grains were grown, which is bumper crop, they exceeded the entire growth patterns of the entire 7 decades just because somebody else came and do it? So there are jobs. Please do not demean the today's discussion. This is a constitutional amendment, and let me tell you, it got 319 A's and 4 no's. Do you understand? All the parties. We don't have 319 member of parliament. So this means all the member of parliaments who supported that, please respect their discussion. Tanviji, so let me remind you, whatever is there on the plate, now it will be divided between 50 plus 10, that is 60%. All my brothers, irrespective whether my Muslim sister, she was deprived just because she was not coming in that caste. She will get a job now, opportunity now. My Christian brother who was not given an opportunity, Congress denied that opportunity for 65 years. Now we will get that opportunity to them. My Parsi sister who was denied the opportunity will get the decision. Now please let me know. Yes. How did we get this many people to file in income tax if there was no jobs? If there was no income, then why would people register in GST? Why would somebody, 82 lakh people get EPF registration?
Now you're repeating, Mr. Goenka.
Just because you want to say there is no jobs?
Mr. Goenka, maybe you're just surprised that you got so much of a time to make your comments.
There has to be a limit to negativity and dislike for the party.
This is not negativity.
Can I comment here?
To ask questions. Now you are pretty much admitting what I am saying. Whatever little bit is there on the plate will be shared with everybody. So you are admitting there is little bit on the plate. That's effectively the point that I was also making. To your point of the 82 lakh people who may have registered with EPFO, that would simply be because people who were in the unorganized sector moved on to the organized sector. That doesn't really mean that you created new jobs per se.
So
again, to your point,
people move to organized sector.
I'm sorry, of course it is good.
Parallel economy. Do you want to say that there should not be people who come in organized sector?
But do you understand?
That is not the debate,
Vinit Goenka, I
want to have a legal system.
1 minute. Mr. Goenka, you have been coming on the last word debates and on Mirror Now debates for a really long time to know that once you are done with your point, you let the other people speak. Now, I heard you out completely, so did everybody else. Now, you asked me a question and I am answering that question. Please show the courtesy to me.
Start with a negative note as if,
oh, okay. I am so sorry. You are extremely upset. Congratulations, Mr. Goenka, for presenting a very well-researched bill that gives us great insights into the struggle of the poor people within the general category. And I congratulate you for presenting with a very well-researched bill, which of course is not timed to the elections. Okay. 5.2 lakh people who came on with their tax returns is simply because, and you should take credit for that, that the government has tightened the screws on tax evasion. That has nothing to do with more job creation. Again, 98.7 lakh who've registered under GST doesn't mean new jobs or new businesses.
Formal economy is not a good step.
It is a good step. That is not the same step. That is not the same step as saying we are creating the jobs.
So why are you asked the question. That does not mean that
I answered.
People who are registered in PF are not jobs.
But black money and grey economy or unorganized sector is not the point of the conversation today. Let me take it across to our other panelists. Pawan Khera, good evening to you. Good to have you on the last word.
Jobs. That's why people berated these roads, ma'am.
No, I don't have to admit just because the BJP tells me to. I will look at the data and I will look at what examples show me. Now, if the government has any data to give me about actual jobs being created, please by all means do, and then I will admit what is. Yes, because it is your view to say that EPFO and PPF data means jobs created. I may disagree with you. Mr. Khera, good evening to you. Congress has also been raising this point. Now, I am done with my points now. Vineet Goenka, you can't go on and on. I am sorry, you know how this debate functions. Do not force me to put down the volume of any panelist on this debate. Pawan Khera, if your party had problems with the lack of data on how this will address the job problem, shouldn't you have insisted on a longer debate on this bill before you cleared it? Mr. Khera, over to you.
I can understand.
Tanvi, while I agree that this should have been brought much earlier if the government was serious. Can I?
Go ahead, please.
Mr. Vineet, can I be allowed to speak, please? Thank you. Tanvi, I agree the government should have also brought it much earlier if they were serious about addressing the issue. And 10% of zero, Tanvi, unfortunately for Vineet Goenka also, stays a zero. If this glass is empty, I can't share the water with anyone else. So they are hoodwinking. Why did we support it? That's a good question. We have always, UPA 1 and UPA 2, kept trying to address the issue of anomalies in our distribution of resources in society by bringing the rights-based approach, whether it was right to education, right to food, all. So the BJP kept diluting when they came to power. They kept diluting. The right to education stands diluted. The Narega stands divested of funds. So I won't enter into a debate of what has their approach been towards addressing the concerns of the poor. Having said that, Mr. Vineet Goenka, please promise to the viewers today that now the new definition of economic backwardness is 8 lakh rupees and not 2.5 lakh rupees. So please raise the income tax exemption from 2.5 lakh rupees to 8 lakh rupees. That will be a greater service. And don't get into a hypocritical argument on this. Number two, will this pass the legal scrutiny? People have doubts, and rightly so. Therefore, another reason, if the government was serious and it was not just playing politics around it, they should have brought it long back so that it would have seen through the entire legal journey of this proposed bill. So these are our concerns. Having said that, we supported it because we'll support every pro-poor measure, and we know after May 2019, we will ensure that it's done well, it's implemented well.
Okay,
therefore, we supported it.
All right. Now, before Vineet Goenka responds to that, let's quickly bring in A. Saravanan as well, so that together you can respond to both DMK and Congress. Saravanan had quite a few issues with the points that Vineet Goenka had raised.
Yeah,
we all heard
this
what
bill
the Congress
is a
representatives
fraud
in the
on the
House
Constitution of India.
They supported
this.
This
Is very, very clear by the Supreme Court judgments, earlier Supreme Court judgments, and the other rulings earlier, that this will not pass legal scrutiny. Having known that thoroughly, this government has the gall to pass such a bill to deprive the backward classes of their legitimate right. For the last 70 years, we have had reservation for the educationally backward, socially backward people, and the people who were not represented in the states. But what has it achieved? Are we having how many Supreme Court judges are there from the backward community and the SC/ST community? How many High Court judges are there? How many secretaries are there in the national capital, in all the entire states? How many backward community people are there? So the policy of reservation is still going. It's an ongoing process. It has not yielded its fullest result. In the meantime, bringing in economic status is disastrous to the country, because it is going to take away what is already available to the backward community people. The main reason the reservation was included was the people, because it is tangible. The backwardness of a particular community or a caste or underrepresentation is tangible, whereas economic status is fungible. Yes. No, let me complete, Tanvi. Let me complete, then you can ask your questions. Economic status is fungible. Let us say today he is in this bracket, he gets a lottery, he becomes a millionaire. What happens to his economic status and what happens to the reservation? It is a fraud. This economic status is a fraud. It is against social justice. Our party, our leader Mr. M.K. Stalin opposed this, and today he has again raised this issue in the Tamil Nadu Assembly. Now what does the ADMK leader Mr. Thambidhai had spoken in the parliament today? He had said, if the BJP government has given this 15 lakhs to all the people as promised before this 2014, there is no necessity for bringing in this economic status, 10% reservation based on economic status. Why is the BJP trying to fool the people ahead of the elections? This is just to muddy the political waters and reap political dividends. This will not pass legal scrutiny.
Okay.
Yes.
So now, just for my own understanding,
Yes,
why are you saying this is going to take away from what is duly that for the backward and the SC and ST? Because this is not within that 50%. This is over and above that, a separate 10%. So this would have any which has been in the general category. Now it's been taken away from the general category and given to the economically backward. So what is the opposition then?
Yeah, you're right, Tanvi. That's a good question. See, how are they going to achieve this 10%? The Supreme Court judgment, the constitutional bench judgment of the Supreme Court is very, very clear. It says only up to 50%. How can the Narendra Modi's government, a cabinet decision or a bill override a Supreme Court's judgment? That to a constitutional bench judgment. So ultimately, if they want to do it, if they think this is going to give political dividends, they have to carve it out only out of this 50%. They may say so many things now, but that it is not legally possible. And we are a democracy which is run by constitutional morality.
Okay.
This is against that constitutional morality,
actually,
and that is why we are opposing this.
Well, actually, it is a constitutional amendment that the government has every right to do so, provided it gets the support of the parliament, it gets ratified and passed as a bill, which is what they are doing right now, and most parties seem to be supporting them. Vineet Goenka, your response to what Pawan Khera and Mr. Saravanan had to say.
See, one simple thing. Had Pawan Khera ji had substantial things, his members would have spoken in the parliament. They have not spoken anything which is substantial there in the parliament, which could be seen by the entire country because it was broadcasted live. So I understand one thing, there are compulsions to oppose on the TV channels, A. B, had they been serious, they were informed by Mayawati ji long back. Manmohan Singh ji, the accidental prime minister, were informed by Mayawati ji, that too in writing. Please do something for economical backward. But he was unable to take decisions because 10th Judgment did not, listen to him. Now, let me also refer to what the DMK representative said. There is 69% reservation in Tamil Nadu. How does it work? Number 3, Supreme Court does not make law. Laws are made in parliament. Yes, if the law, somebody feels that the law is superseding his fundamental rights or is against the spirit of the country's democracy, then they go to Supreme Court. Supreme Court can have an observation on that. But Supreme Court does not make a law. And when the amendments are done in Parliament, let me remind, Parliament is supreme in a democracy. And tomorrow it will go to Rajya Sabha. We will also see, let people have discussion. If there are some points which they have missed today, they can always talk tomorrow. Every party has some representation there in Rajya Sabha. So let me once again remind people, this is a very good bill. Sir, poverty does not know religion. They don't understand Hindu, Muslim or Christian. Poverty does not understand caste. They don't understand gender. Poverty does not understand capability, physical capability. Poverty does not understand geography. Poverty is poverty, and that pain has to be relieved. And I think this is a great equalizer. That is a great move. Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas was promised, and that has come through. Let me also remind one more thing. These people who are trying to oppose in under the name of social this thing. Let me remind
Just
them.
a small rebuttal.
Socially backward is one challenge, but another challenge is economical. They are two different challenges, and both have to be addressed. So, don't mix this them. And just because for the sake of opposition, don't oppose it. There are people who have been deprived. Now, one point Pawan Khera ji made is this: is 8 lakh rupees a new definition of poverty? Yes, 8 lakh rupees is not
can I come in for 5 seconds?
Let me tell you, many people who get 8 lakh rupees per annum cannot get good admission, cannot get good education. So let
him finish his point. Let him finish his point, please.
To 8 lakh rupees. That can be discussed, debated. Congress can propose that. So Congress can always propose that. And yes, I think, the wisdom of the lawmakers can come to that point.
Is there any estimate, Mr. Goenka, that the
people get some relief?
Is there any estimate, Mr. Goenka, that the government has of, in this category that you're defining with this criteria of 8 lakhs or 5 acre land or 200 or 1,000 square foot home or 200 square foot of plot area in notified zones. Is there a number that you can share with us? How many people would fit into this criteria? How many people would benefit through this reservation, or could benefit, or at least try to get this quota?
When you talk about principles of equality, you don't talk about number of people. Even if there is one person who will benefit, it's a principle, madam. You will have to evaluate yourself. You have to go to the
how
higher
did you
level.
decide on this criteria?
This is not some petty number game. 5 people benefiting 25 people. I would not. I'm telling you that. I'm telling you. I would not ask somebody who is below 8 lakh rupees whether he's a Christian, whether he's Muslim. I will not ask them. 8 lakh rupees is.
That's not the point here. Now I know 3 times you've highlighted. Let me, for your satisfaction,
we cannot go that PT to
point it out. 1 minute, please. Can I just speak? Can I just speak? For the benefit of the BJP spokesperson on this show, I am going to just highlight this to our viewers, that this bill is religion agnostic. It doesn't depend on what your religion is. But of course, my question right now was, on what basis have you chosen this criteria? Why should it be 8 lakhs and not 5 lakhs or 15 lakhs or even 1 lakh, which by other definitions of groups and studies that have been done, even the Supreme Court has looked at it, 1 lakh is taken as the benchmark. To go beyond that is then the creamy layer, but we are right now talking about 8 lakhs. I have 2 more panelists, so I'm going to ask our political representatives to just stay with us for a bit. Let me first bring in Professor Anand Kumar.
5 seconds, Tanvi.
Sharman, I will come back to you. 2 panelists haven't spoken yet. We must also bring in their views for a wider debate.
Yeah.
Professor Anand Kumar, thank you for joining us.
Okay.
What is your own view? The larger conversation we're having tonight, of course, is not to question the bill. The government has decided, they've brought it in. It doesn't look like there's going to be any opposition to it. It will become a law for now. But does this solve the problem? A lot of anger we are seeing today amongst youngsters is because of lack of job opportunities.
The principle of reservation is a very important provision in the context of deficits of nation building, to make our society inclusive and our policies effective. Reservation has been used as a safety wall for promoting representation and for enhancing elite recruitment. In the present case, there is a sense of deprivation in relative terms, and there is a hope about getting solutions through reservation. We are living in a time of jobless growth globally, and this is the time of some kind of backlash against liberalization and globalization at regional level, at national level. And the hope that this government has created among the students and youth of general category, or what we call Savarna category, is phenomenal. This consensual amendment of Constitution is probably historical, because in last 4.5 years, this is the only occasion we have seen near absolute unity in the Lok Sabha. But this is going to be only beginning of a crisis, because it is going to generate hope beyond the means of the government.
Yes.
They have, so I heard the minister responding to the debate that this is going to help lakhs and crores of general category student and youth. I'm sure that Mr. Minister was not talking through his hat, but he was not really talking sense. Are there really lakhs and crores of jobs available through this 10% principle, when even the OBC people are fighting amongst each other for quota within quota? This is going to create a class divide in general category, because 8 lakh and below and 8 lakh and above, there'll be a new principle of jealousy, a new principle of deprivation. I don't see, as a person coming from university life, I taught for 35 years in Central Universities of India, that there is no ground to claim that general category youth is deprived of educational opportunities, because these are times of open university system. Indira Gandhi National Open University is a place which has very low tuition,
right,
and which offers education to children from weaker sections. We also have merit cum means fellowship in all universities. If you're coming from a lower income category, and if you're doing well, you will be supported through and through your MA, MPhil, PhD, or MSc, MPhil, PhD, through merit cum means fellowship schemes. So I think this was a very different process which led this government to introduce this 10% principle. Yes, it is true that this is based upon a national commission appointed by UPA government, which was sleeping on the reports between 2010 and 2014.
Yes.
And they have reinvented that idea after the problems created in Gujarat and Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh and Chhattisgarh.
Right.
But I'm not sure that this is the best solution which should have been offered by the
But
government in case
I'll
of
come back.
joblessness.
Yes,
and in
I'll come
case
back
of
to that point.
crisis of education because of...
I will come back to the point that you're making. 1.78 lakh jobs have central government jobs have been created during the 4 years of the Modi government. That's roughly not even close to what we need for the number of youth who are entering the workforce every year, which is 10 million. Even if you add what the state governments at the individual level have added, it still doesn't meet is anywhere close to the necessary requirement. Even if you take a look at what the public sector banks are doing, the total number of employees between 2012-2013 to 2016-2017 has actually gone down. Now, of course, the government tells us, well, government jobs are not the only place where we are creating jobs. We are also creating jobs in the private sector. But then you are not giving reservation in the private sector. So this doesn't bring about any benefit for the poor in the general category because there is no reservation in the private sector. Mr. Ashok Bharti, what's your own sense? There is no point in making this promise when you're unable to provide those opportunities.
Well, Tanvi, I guess that the idea of the government providing reservation for economically upper caste, let me make it very clear that this bill talks about the caste. It segregates scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, OBCs from the rest of the caste in the country. So this is the first law that segregate on the basis of caste and economy. That is the one thing that I wanted to say. I have small things that I would like to add. As far as the poverty is concerned, globally, the $2 to a day poverty ratio of the India is 2/3 population.
Yes.
And this bill provides the dollar income of $31 a day at the rate of 70 rupees per dollar. Okay. So if you look at 31 people earning $31 a day, I guess it will cover, except Mr. Ambani, Adani, Tatas and other people, everybody will be covered by this income criteria, barring few people. So now my problem is that government is deliberately creating a narrative in the favor of the upper caste and at the cost of the integrity, unity, peace of this country. And let me also, that I would like to, there are few things that I would like to highlight.
Yes.
First of all, this is the law of such a significant nature which has not been put for the debate in public. Because any law, if you consider the law for the reservation of the women, it is pending for last 20 years being discussed inside, outside, everywhere in the parliament, outside the parliament, but it is not seeing the light of the day and getting passed in the parliament. But this specific law was visualized a couple of days ago and now being passed in the Lok Sabha. Let me also share with this how government is creating the upper caste narrative. If you look at in 2008, Mr. Kheda is sitting here, there was a law introduced in the Rajya Sabha on the reservation for scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, OBC bill in the parliament. This bill has not been passed by the government so far. This is the first law the government, instead of passing the law for a long pending demand of the scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, OBC in the central legislature, government has taken a precedent, has decided to pass a law for the upper caste poor people. So this clearly indicates government is favoring the upper caste people over the scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, OBC.
Okay.
Another evidence of this is...
Let me get a response from Vineet Goenka on this before I go to...
I'll close another evidence.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll just close in 2 seconds. That when socially, educationally backward classes were asking extending the reservation of 50% to enhance their representation, government did not think to breaking the ceiling of 50%. But overnight, they got wisdom and now they are extending the reservation beyond 50%. So I guess this clearly indicates this government is deliberately appeasing the upper caste at the cost of scheduled caste, scheduled tribe and OBCs.
Yes, Mr. Goenka.
No, I don't think so. What he said is correct. 50% is a separate thing and 10% is separate thing. It does not impact the reservation for the socially backward people. This is in addition to the socially backward people. Number two, let me just tell people who would like to understand what was the creamy layer definition. It was defined by Satyanathan Committee in 1971 when it was 1 lakh rupee. But then it was bought to 6 lakh rupees in 2013. So there were two amendments previous to this, 2.5 lakh rupees in 2004. Now in 2013 it's 6 lakh rupees.
Mr. Goenka, we are not discussing creamy layer here. We are not discussing creamy layer. We are not discussing creamy layer here.
Yes, Mr. Bharti, let him make his point now.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Mr. Bhatti, I can understand your excitement. I heard you very patiently, sir. Have decency to hear me out, sir. I heard you. I think probably we'll have to understand one thing. Reservation is not only for government job. It is also for education.
Yes.
Those who earn 8 lakh rupees, do you think they can go to good educational institutes? They have been deprived. So if they go to good educational institute, will not they have more opportunities for earning money, whether it is employment, entrepreneurship, private jobs or jobs? So one, we can help our youth to get better education. Don't you all want that we have people who are talented but are deprived because of economical compulsions? So I think this is a great equalizer. My entire congratulations to the people who are there. Also congratulations to the people of opposition who voted for this particular vote. And I'll have to Tanviji leave at right now because I was supposed to be here till 10:30. Because I have something else on the other channel.
Well, thank you for staying longer than you were supposed to. Just listen to this though, because you raised education. Here is some statistics on how seats in the reserved category, even in premier institutions like IITs, are going unfilled. In July 2008, that was the case. In October 2018, that was the case. And even in premier institutions like IIT Kanpur, they were unable to fill the OBC and ST level ST category reserved seats. So while you may say that you're giving it in the educational institutions, obviously the existing system itself has some problems where whatever opportunities are being given aren't even being properly utilized. Pawan Khera had a couple of points to make. Mr. Khera, go ahead, please.
Yeah, first of all, you were asking for some data on landholding. Below 5 acres is 86% of landholders of India.
86%.
Then 99% of rural households would be below 8 lakh category. So what are we talking about? The data is quite there. This is the NABARD data. I'll also give you the source for this. Now, Mr. Vineet was saying that Tamil Nadu has 69%. How is it viable? Now, Tamil Nadu 69% came before the Supreme Court judgment fixing the cap. So he should know about this particular data. CMIE data he has ignored conveniently. We just came out last week of 11 million job losses in just 2018. So our fundamental question continues to be, which it was in Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh and Chhattisgarh elections also, where are the jobs? That's a question which will continue to haunt Narendra Modi ji when he goes out to campaign, which he's been doing for the last 5 years, the campaign prime minister. But where are the jobs? So you cannot hoodwink all the people all the time. For the last 5 years, you've been trying to do so. Unfortunately, Vineet ji is not here. So I don't know why am I venting my thing out on the BJP when the BJP is not here.
Okay, no, I agree with you, and which is why I kept asking Mr. Goenka to tell me that data, because if we are to go by this category, then almost everybody could be eligible for this, and that makes no sense at all. Mr. Saravanan, yes, tell me.
Yeah. See, Mr. Vinith was making a point that this is a constitutional amendment and they have every right. Yes, they may have every right, but we should understand that we are in a constitutional democracy where even constitutional amendments are amenable to judicial review. The courts will look into it and see whether it is right or wrong. When the courts have already said it is wrong, how can they come and say that it is right? And when we speak about this 69%, what has happened in Tamil Nadu is to comply with the Supreme Court mandated 50%. Additional seats are created every year so that the people who may lose out of this extra 19% are compensated from the open category. So it is within this 50%. So they cannot have more and above this 10%. And apart from all these aspects, Mr. Vinith was also making yet another point that this is irrespective of caste community. That is totally wrong. This is for the upper community people. The backward community people or the SC/ST who are below this 8 lakh category cannot avail this benefit. This is exclusive reservation for the upper caste people. Here the BJP is trying to play a caste divide on the fault lines. They want to have electoral dividends. Except electoral dividends, there is nothing in this bill. Nothing in this constitutional amendment bill. Probably all the other parties which are voted for this.
How do you justify backing reservation for SC, ST, OBC, including more and more castes and subcastes within these categories, from Jats to Marathas to Gujars, but the minute it comes to the general category, then you think it's the BJP that's playing divisive caste politics? How is it not caste politics at every other time?
Yeah, see, because you see, it's not caste politics because it was defined in the constitution. We are a constitutional democracy. So the constitution at the initial stage, when the framers of the constitution decided to define what backwardness is, they had a motive. They deliberately did not include economic status as one of the tools, as one of the criteria for reservation. They said socially backward, educationally backward, and people who were not represented in the state services. These are the 3 criterions for deciding backwardness. So this constitution has provided reservation only for backwardness on these 3 grounds, not on any other ground. And this is the basic structure of our constitution.
Okay, last word from Vinith Goenka. Last word from Vinith Goenka before we wrap up this. Before we wrap up this conversation, yes, Mr. Goenka.
You know, in our country, education is something which can change the demography and the future of this country. And I think many talented people, they are deprived good education just because they can't afford good institutions. I think this will help them to do it. 20 years later on, when we sit in the same studios, whichever party we come from, whichever age, whatever age we would be after 20 years, I think the generation is going to remember this, because this is going to help them to get jobs, education. And in turn, education will lead to jobs, not only government jobs. Maybe they will be entrepreneur. I wish they can be scientists. They may be something else. So this is what should have been done long back. This is done now. But I would like to thank all the member of parliament who voted in the favor of this particular thing, and I hope it passes
through. So if it had to be done long back,
those who have doubts on the constitutional validity of that, they can always go to Supreme Court.
So if it had to be done long back, Mr. Goenka, why did you wait for
Supreme Court can guide us whether things were right?
4 years and many more months to do this? If it had to be done long back, why didn't we hear of this before?
See, this question is not for me. You will have to ask this question to the Congress representative. When Mayawati ji wrote a letter to Manmohan Singh ji, why didn't they do it? I can understand your negativity towards us, madam, but you will have to ask this question to the relevant person, not to me. We have done it. We have.
That's fair enough. Mr. Pawan Khera, you have to admit you could have done this, but you didn't manage to do it like you said. You wanted to, you thought about it,
your agenda,
but your Congress party didn't do it, Pawan Khera.
Agenda, but yet you will have to ask this. So हमने तो किया है ना, हमने किया और पास भी करवाया इसको.
Mr. Khera,
Congress किया और पास भी करवाया.
Congress believes in.
ये बताना पड़ेगा.
Congress believes in widespread consultations before any such move is made. Having said that, will you stop this nonsense now? और अनिल चाचा के बारे में बात करें अब, अनिल अंबानी चाचा जो आपके हैं. Stop this rubbish. This is a serious debate and better behave.
जी अनिल जी क्या कोई 2013 के
nonsense
पहले
is
के
this?
मेट्रो
You are not
ट्रेन के
serious
तो
about
घूमते थे
any
ना,
issue.
हमारे जी।
Gentlemen,
ये अनिल चाचा की बात कर रही है, मिशेल मामा लगा रखा है.
we managed almost
This is
50
rubbish.
minutes
And
of
Tanvi, I
this
don't
civic
accept
discussion.
kind of conduct from anyone.
We'll have to
Yes,
also understand why
and
the
I don't
society
think
was
this
divided.
is the right way to finish this discussion. My apologies for everybody that I'm interrupting, but I'm sorry we can't have this kind of yelling going on. Completely out of time on this conversation. Now, just to give you a sense of why we keep saying that at the core of this is the job crisis. For example, between March 2001 and March 2014, the number of employees in the Haryana government went up from just 3,19,000 to just about 3,40,000. That's the only number of jobs, roughly 20,000 jobs that were created in that 13-year period, which means the number of job creation rate was actually just about 0.5% per year. This is the same phase when you saw the Jat agitation for reservation grow. Now, if you were to look at statistics, you would see similar statistics for Rajasthan, for Gujarat, and for Maharashtra, where the Maratha agitation just peaked. The youth in our country is angry because they don't have enough jobs. They don't have enough government jobs. They don't have enough private sector jobs. In many cases, they are overqualified, but it doesn't matter. They're queuing up for whatever jobs they get. Now, the government may turn around and say it is not their job anymore to create these jobs, but it is their job to create the opportunities. Unfortunately, nobody is telling us what kind of steps have been taken to create those opportunities. The fact of the matter is that if you really look at what this specific legislation does, in a country with large income inequality, there will be a huge section of people who will be eligible for this quota, a question that BJP did not answer, but our other panelists highlighted to you. So when the jobs are scarce, but the amount of people who will benefit are huge, can you imagine what will happen? Sure, an economically backward-based categorization for reservation is a good idea. And at best, this could be a beginning of that kind of a conversation. But the question is the government only trying to create a vote bank of poor people and eliminating all other social and political groupings with various vested interests? Is that what they're intending to do? Is that really possible in a diverse country like India? Think about it. This is not an answer that we can give you in a hurry. Thank you for joining us.